You know, there's video included on almost all the upper end and middle range and even the lower end cameras now. It's a shame that a lot of photographers fail to use video. There are times when it's important to use video. And there's some specialty video gear just made for getting smooth moves, which is what you want for video. And one of those units is a slider, which is good for live video or even time lapse. And today we're going to talk about an inexpensive slider that you can pick up, and it's the Neewer slider, which you're seeing the results here right now.
Well, hey folks.
Well, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the Neewer slider, and this is kind of our first look. We're not going to do a complete review, but we're going to tell a little bit about it.
This will get you started, and then we'll start going more in depth as we get a chance, especially as you get a chance to put it through its paces.
Right.
But so far, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, one of the things I was a little disappointed at is I thought I could pack this up and put it in my suitcase, and found out, no, it will not fit. It's too big. It's about that much too long. However, I probably can take off these ends. They just screw in. They've got with these Allen wrench,
right,
which comes with the unit. I think if I take those off and take our carbon fiber rods, I mean, it's very well built. This is all aluminum. I believe this center is aluminum, and the rods that it rides on are carbon fiber, so it's fairly light. And I do believe I can take it apart, and talking about taking it apart, it did come partially disassembled. These were connected, and it comes in this nice carry bag, and the motor.
But wait a minute, it came partially disassembled.
Yes, the motors and all the belt assembly is all that were all packed up in here, and this came from Amazon.
And what were the instructions like?
Well, typical Chinese. I mean, poorly translated from Chinese and totally incomplete. And get into that more in a moment. So what I thought I would do is put together a separate video, which I think people would find handy.
Useful,
because I've designed and built one of these myself. I was able to figure it out and put it together, but other people might have a little bit of an issue.
How to assemble the Neewer slider.
Yeah, you have to put the motor in there. It comes with a Sony battery, which this is supposed to be good for about 3 hours. It's got all the various cables. This is for a Canon 7D, but it's got a whole bunch of cables in the case here. If you want to hold that, which should cover just about every camera ever manufactured. There's all the cables in here for the various cameras to trigger it, and that's primarily if you're doing time lapse, because I don't think a lot of these cameras will trigger if you're doing video. I know this one doesn't. Maybe some other ones do. I don't know. Anyway,
and of course, you seem to be using your phone too.
There is an app, and I'll put the information because they don't tell you the name of the app. It comes with an iOS version and an Android. There's also, as you can see, there is a QR code on here, one for iOS and Android, so you can scan it and it would take you there. And it's fairly simple. The first thing you have to do when you take this out and get it all set up and running, the on-off button here is in the front, little red light that shows. And I also tested this out, what happens if the phone is no longer connected to Bluetooth? Will it stop? And the answer is no, it keeps going. The light blinks on and off, showing that you're not connected. When you come back and turn your phone and the app back on, it reconnects immediately. So that's kind of nice, because that means you don't have to sit there with your phone
constantly
if you're doing a long time lapse.
Okay, cool.
Also, you can power the motor with a power bank. You don't have to use the battery.
All right.
And the battery's supposed to be good for 3 hours. You want to do a longer time lapse, you're going to need more power than that. Okay, so it has a speed control, and it goes really slow where you won't even see it moving, up to there if you're doing live video. Now, one of the things is when it's, I don't know if you can hear this, but there's a high-pitched whine from that motor, and right now I'm not hearing it though.
No.
I did hear it a little bit
Well,
ago.
I think you hit just a certain speed, and
yeah,
once you went a little slower,
at a particular, or a little faster. This is at full speed right now.
well, if you slowed it down a little bit, you might hear it. But
Possibly.
I did hear it when he was getting everything
it's
set.
just a high-pitched whine,
Right.
which could be a problem if you're into recording video with it. If you're doing B-roll, it's not going to be an issue.
Right.
However, the cool thing on this, let you hold the phone there again.
Alrighty.
As I started to say, is you have to set up your endpoints every time you set it up.
Okay.
You have to do your A point, B point, the endpoints, where it is. And you'll also hopefully notice that when it hits those points, and I've got it set now to go back and forth, but you can set it just so it'll go in one direction and stop. It slows down and speeds up, slows down. So that's kind of nice. So it's not just an abrupt turnaround. This bar in here, it's got a third bar, which I believe this is aluminum. And this will allow you to position the camera so it'll continue to point in a particular direction.
Cool.
So as you can see, as you go across here, it rotates the little, I don't know, turntable
base,
here where the
base of where the head is.
Of course, this is my head. The head does not come with it. And as you can see now, it turns and it'll remain aimed. And you can adjust that for. The other thing you can do is go out the other direction like this, and you can do panoramas. So you could do a time-lapse panorama if you want to, where it would kind of sweep across, which could be interesting. Or you can set this to go straight across. It also has that if you're moving us around, and I'll show these, do a close-up, it's got little screws
some
back
little adjustment
here
screws
that allow you to tighten this down so this won't turn if you're moving it, or to tighten this against the rail so again it won't slide. One of the things that I was curious about is, because this is a small little motor and this is just a little, the timing belt on here is 5 millimeter, I'm sorry, with a 2 millimeter pitch on it, which is rather small, and I thought, is this going to be strong enough if I wanted to tilt the camera or do it? It does it horizontally okay, what about vertically or at an angle? I found out I was able to tilt at a 50-degree angle, and the motor was straining a little bit, but it did handle this camera with the this particular lens, 28 to 135. It's supposed to handle up to 22 pounds. I know I'm far below that with this camera. It's maybe, I don't know, 7 pounds, 6, 7 pounds guesstimate. Mm-hmm. So that's basically what I got. Have you got any questions? Oh, one other thing I thought about. I've got it mounted right now on a tripod. It does have 3/8 and 1/4-20 on the base here. I've got it connected to a 3/8. Mm-hmm. I'd be a little hesitant to do this on a 1/4-20 on a tripod ball head, because as that's going back and forth, I think it might
start wobbling.
Even on this a little bit, and you pointed out that it
leans
to have
a tiny
bit.
Because of the weight of the camera as it shifts from one end to the other.
Yeah, the legs here, you can set this on the ground or on a table or something. It's got legs that rotate and lock in place, and it's also got little screw-out mechanisms here that will allow you to adjust it. And,
cool.
And of course, these lock down for the center pole.
So you wouldn't even have to have it on a tripod unless you really, depending on what you're trying to do with it. That's nice. It gives you some alternatives, and everything comes with it, as we're seeing. So
everything that you see except for the camera and the ball head.
Right.
Then it's got a time-lapse mode in here. And the time-lapse mode I got to sit and figure out because, well, first off, they tell you to press OK to start and stop this. And since I switched to time-lapse, you see it stopped. But it's not OK.
It's like a lens iris.
It's a lens iris. That's their OK. And it's got some things, frames, shutter, pix amount, and I'm not quite sure. I think the pix amount is the total number of frames you want to take. It looks like it's got a count thing in here that it counts it. It does come with these cables, I said, which will trip the camera automatically if you don't want to use your own intervalometer. I think the frames might be is how much time you want between frames, I think.
Okay.
The shutter, I think, is how long you want the shutter open. So if you're doing it at night or something.
If you want extended exposure, right, long exposure.
And then it's got something here, a slider that says fixed shoot. Again, I don't know what that is. I have to experiment because, again, the instructions that come with this are very, very slim.
Right, right.
They didn't really properly explain, so. When I figure that'll go into the video that I'll post to our YouTube channel. So for people that want to pick these up, again, I paid $279 for it. Actually, I didn't. It's listed for $279. For some reason, Amazon knocked $50 off. It was $229 that I paid. So to give you some reference, there are some other ones. There's GVM. There's a couple other brands. A-Shank, I think, is one around the same price range. This is a relatively inexpensive one. It's 31.5 inches. I know you can go, if you're really, really serious, you go for something like the Edelchrome, which is, they'd be $500 or $600, and they can really go up in price. A lot more capabilities, of course, but I think in a pinch, this will get the job done. And so far, I'm really happy with the build, considering the price. So.
Right, and it's a product that we are familiar with the brand name because we've used it for panel lights and LED lights, things of that nature.
And Neewer finally put it on their website.
Oh,
and
good.
I tried to find a USA site, and they don't have one. I couldn't find one. It's a Chinese, but they do have an English version.
Okay.
So I registered this on there for, it does come, I think, a 1-year limited warranty on it. So anyway, any questions? Anything that you can think of that I may have left out?
The only question I would have is when can we do cool stuff with it?
Let's go do that right away.
Okay.